Okay, so we're looking at 2018 question number 2, dealing with marginal social cost, marginal social benefit, marginal private costs, and marginal private benefits. And it starts off with this graph right here. Modern day word processing software gives consumers the ability to create and save documents in different file formats that can then be used, accessed by multiple computer operating systems. Happy, we're good about that. That's good stuff. There's a benefit to that when that takes place, right, in society. The graph below depicts a perfectly competitive market for word processing software. So this is the market. There would be a firm associated with this if we were looking at cost curves for a firm, but this is a perfectly competitive market in the word processing software industry. It says in the graph, the MSB, the marginal social benefit, is MSB. MPB is the marginal private benefit down here. And then MPC is the marginal private cost, and the MSC is the marginal social cost, okay? The marginal private cost to individuals and the marginal social cost to society. And what we also want to see is the benefit that we can receive if we're in the private club, or that we can receive if we're in society as a whole, all right? And before we start looking at the questions that they're asking, just figure this out right now, where we're at with regard to the consumers or society, the marginal private cost, the marginal social cost, and where we are with the marginal private benefit and the marginal social benefit that could occur. Okay, so when we're looking at these graphs here, we first want to look at and take into consideration that the marginal private benefit, all right, is at point E, and the market is going to produce at a price of $6 equilibrium. There's a quantity equilibrium at 16 units. If we have a greater marginal social benefit curve in existence, we're going to see that society is going to benefit if this curve was higher, right? We would then have 24 units in the marketplace at a price of $8. But society would benefit more from this great invention of the word processor if we were to have more out in there. So the first question that it asks, it says identify the type of market failure illustrated by the graph. We want to look at and see in this question, what's the market failure? Well, there's a positive externality, okay, taking place here. And the reason why we can see this is because we notice that the marginal social benefit is greater than the marginal private benefit. For B, it asks the question, using the numbers on the graph, identify the market equilibrium price and quantity. Well, right now what's being produced is the market equilibrium price and quantity. The price equals $6. It's right here, okay? And the quantity equals 16. All right. The next question it asks is, where's the deadweight loss? It says, using the labeling on the graph, identify the area representing the deadweight loss at the quantity identified in part B. So this is the quantity identified in part B, 16. If we were producing what would appear to be the socially optimal point, would be 24. So we would find that deadweight loss right in this area. So what they're asking for is the labeling, not the amount of the deadweight loss, but the labeling. It would be D, E, and F. All right, so C is D, E, F. D is a little tricky here. It's asking the question, suppose the government is considering granting a subsidy to correct the market failure. What is the dollar value of the per unit subsidy? All right, so they talk about a subsidy in the beginning, but they're saying, what is the dollar value of the per unit subsidy? Okay, so the government's going to give us a certain amount of money for every unit that we produce, all right, to get us to a point where we should be at the optimal point in society, what society wants to have. And so this is the point where we should be at right here, okay? What's going to happen here is that in order for us to get to that point, the government's going to need to give us the difference between the dollar amount here and the dollar amount here in a per unit subsidy. So in figuring this out, the difference between 10 and 6 is $4. And they ask us, what is the amount? For D, it's $4 in the per unit subsidy. For the last question, they ask, suppose that the government imposes a price floor at $8, meaning that the price cannot drop below $8. So when we look at this, the floor would be going across right here, okay? And at that point, what we would have is a situation in which all that's going to be bought is this amount at $8. The price can't drop any further than that. They're not giving a per unit subsidy on this. And so at $8, at this dollar amount here, we're going to see that the quantity that's going to be bought and supplied and bought in this marketplace is going to be 8. So this situation where the price floor comes in, not a great situation at all. So it asks us, suppose that the government does not grant the subsidy and instead imposes a price floor at $8. How many units will consumers and producers exchange at the price floor? Well, be 8 units exchanged. Okay, and then it says, that's for 1. For 2, it says, does the price floor correct the market failure? And no, it doesn't. No. The quantity of 8 is less than the optimal quantity of, which would be 24. Basically saying that the marginal social benefit is greater, right, than the marginal social cost at the unit, at 8 units. Okay, so next time.